Hi, everyone. This is Lowell, and I wanted to continue our discussion of music theory. And the first subject is rhythm, and the first component of rhythm is tempo. And so, tempo basically can be understood as uh, your human experience of movement. And a lot of music has to do with dance. Dance and music are very similarly combined, and also other aspects of life, whether it be walking or running or jogging, or music. Uh, Obviously, music is related to our oral experience, our sound experience, and so for music to be going fast or slow doesn't really. There's no such thing as fast or slow music. It just is sound. But what it does is it causes us to experience physical movement in terms of dance, in terms of how we move through space, and so a lot of what we understand about tempo is how we experience human movement, and particularly relating to dance in terms of the arts, but also just your movement through space, whether it be through walking or running or jogging, that type of thing. So this is just a basic breakdown, and we talked about in the previous video about how tempo is the nomenclature for tempo, how it's established to talk about, and so frequency is talked about, or pitch is talked about in beats per second, but tempo is talked about in beats per second, and so you have a range. If you ever seen a metronome, the first metronomes were mechanical. Now we have digital. But if you've ever seen those little TikTok things that go back that help musicians train themselves to stay in time. Uh, anyway, generally speaking, and this is real general, but you have 40 beats per minute up to about 80 beats per minute, and that would be considered a slow tempo. And then from 80 to 120, that would be medium tempo, and then 120 and faster would be a fast tempo, in just general classical music definitions. And then marching bands uh, typically have 120 to 140 beats per minute. And then I just jotted down a few uh, electronica styles and the typical beats per minute that they have. Um, you have dub is 60 to 90 beats per minute. House is 115 to 130 beats per minute. And then techno and trance is 120 to 150 beats per minute. And so they're uh, basically common styles built around the tempo. And so, and I said in the first video, we were talking about what tempo really is and how it works. If you think about from a purely human standpoint, tempo is how your heart beats. When you sense, when you lay down at night and you're just kind of trying to relax and you sense your pulse. Uh, we all know that pulse is never static. Pulse is always changing. It's always moving back and forth between how we experience life. And my opinion, and I know that there are going to be people that disagree with this, but my opinion is that the most organic sense of music has an understanding of fluctuant. Um, I'm going to call it living tempo, breathing tempo. I don't think that it's really human in the greatest sense to have a static tempo ever. And so that's just my personal conviction. Classical music is takes that into account quite a bit, with all of what we call rubato and retards and ritenutos and rollentandos and stringendos, and all these things, where you're going faster, slower over the course of a period of time. Um, I've worked with rock bands and tried to incorporate some of these ideas, and to the consternation of my drummers. And so, we all have our different, vantage points of what of the subject of tempo. But ultimately, tempo is something that we feel and that we sense in our bodies. The frequencies that relate to our eyes are very, very high frequency light waves, and the frequencies that relate to our ears are in the range of 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. And then the frequencies that relate to our bodies are 20 kilohertz, or 20 hertz rather, and below. And so there's a full range of frequency spectrum that we experience as humans, and tempo and rhythm really fit into the 20 hertz and below. So that's just a little bit of an overview of the subject of tempo.